And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show, Monday, January 26th. And we have an interesting day ahead of us because if you woke up yesterday morning and checked today's schedule, you would have seen 7 games and they all would have started at some point in time from 7 o'clock on, and we would have had a different slate today. However, that is not what is happening today. We have moved some of these games due to the giant winter storm that has plagued the eastern, well, pretty much like mountains east of the United States. And now we've got the Indiana Pacers at the Atlanta Hawks today at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have the Philadelphia 76ers at the Charlotte Hornets at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I don't remember what time those games were, but considering they're in Atlanta and Charlotte, I'm going to assume that they were starting at either 7 o'clock or 7:30. So we were probably going to drop the Warriors-Wolves game from today's slate and have a 6-game main slate. That was the expectation yesterday morning. Today, that is not the case. Pacers Hawks at 1:30, Sixers Hornets at 3. Move those bad boys to the side. Now we have a 5-game slate with a game that locks at 7, 3 games that lock at 8, and now the Warriors Timberwolves game at 9:30 is in fact a part of today's main slate. It's a very weird one. Now, if you just wake up and see this and never knew, none of this will matter to you. And honestly, none of it should matter to you. That's just what happened. But we've moved some stuff around here because of the storm. Steven, you got a foot, you're in between shovels. Yeah, I didn't get anything. So, weather's great here. Well, actually, I mean, if we're being honest, the weather is atrocious here. But it's just bad without the snow. So it's like 40 and wet. But yeah, so we've got a 1:30 p.m. basketball game. So if you're interested in playing Showdown, I assume that'll be available to you on DraftKings and FanDuel, and we will have projections for it. Similar story for Sixers and Hornets. But then we got a 5-game main. Magic Cavs. Real enough game, even though both teams are missing one of those two. Blazers Celtics is fine. Lakers Bulls not so much. Grizzlies Rockets not so much. Warriors Timberwolves not so much. Charlotte not that bad, really. I would have assumed a very different sentence than that, given everything I saw. The Bulls are playing the Heat 3 straight games. Not sure I've ever seen that. I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. Heat. 3-game set. Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 games in 4 nights. Heat at Bulls. Bulls at Heat. Bulls at Heat. That'll be interesting. Fun times. I didn't know where that came from, considering that's not what's happening today. I was like, I don't know, Bulls look like they're playing the Lakers to me. That was a weird one. So yeah, let's take a lap. Let's break this bad boy down. Let's see where we stand. And then we'll keep it moving for this lovely day. So I hope you guys had a good weekend. I hope you were able to dodge as much of this weather as possible. And if you did get it, hope it went well. That's all I'm worried about. Hope you guys enjoyed your foosballs yesterday. I saw about 2 minutes of a game, which was fun. It's probably 2 minutes more than I would have really liked to see. And yet we're here. All right, let's take a walk through the injury report first and foremost. And I'll set the table for this 1:30 and 3 o'clock game as well. Pacers, Hawks. Hawks are 5.5 point favorites at home, 234 total. Q tag for Benedict Mathurin, who's been out for ages. Q tag for Quentin Jackson as well. On the Hawks side, still no Porzingis, still no Zachary Risache. Otherwise, it's kind of same stuff as normal. But keep an eye on that Benedict Mathurin one, because he's been missing quite a bit. So that will make the Pacers look a little bit different if you're playing early or showdown or whatever it is. And then the 3 o'clock start is Sixers Hornets. Sixers, 3.5 point dogs in Charlotte. Yes, let me repeat. The 76ers are 3.5 point underdogs to the Charlotte Hornets. No Joel Embiid, no Paul George. Kelly Oubre is available on the Hornets side. No injury news that matters. Everybody that's typically available for the Hornets is, in fact, available. With the trade deadline looming and the recent play of Embiid, do you think Morey will ask if there's no market for Joel Embiid? I promise you, Daryl Morey would trade him in a heartbeat. There's absolutely no trade market for Joel Embiid. He is as untradeable as somebody could be. The only way you're trading Joel Embiid is if you have a worse version of that. Like, if, let's say the Bucks didn't wave and stretch Dame, then like that's the kind of deal that could happen. But you couldn't get anything real for Joel Embiid. Like nobody's trading pick. It's just salary at best. So no, there's a 0% chance. There are no suitors. So let's get to the main slate then for today. 5-gamer. First one up, a little weird too. Magic at Cleveland. No Franz Wagner for Orlando, no Darius Garland for Cleveland, but Q tag on both DeAndre Hunter and Sam Merrill today. It's a 5.5 point line for Cleveland, 227 total. I mean, like it's a good game for the East. You know, we're talking about two of the better teams in the East. I don't care what their records are, just saying. Obviously missing, two of the 6 best dudes in the game aren't playing, which kind of sucks. But on a slate of this size, way more important than it typically is. Now, the real downside for this game is the fact that it locks at 7. And then we have 3 more games locking at 8, plus the late night hammer. And when it comes to value right now, there's really not much here that you're excited to get to. Like Jared Allen's always a bit of a wild card. It'll be interesting to see what his ownership looks like. I like him when it's low. I could take it or leave it when it's higher. $6,900 Desmond Bane is fine. 4K Dean Wade is like your value. I don't know how you really sift between Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, and Paolo Banchero. Mitchell's been playing more minutes lately. He's been playing more minutes lately, and with no Darius Garland around, like dominating the ball a bit more. But he's also 9,900, which is not ideal. 9,900, in fact, is the second most expensive player on today's slate, behind Luka Doncic, who is $2,100 more expensive, and he gets to face the Bulls. Similarly, like Jaylen is $200 cheaper than Donovan Mitchell. Comparable-ish matchup against Portland, but small forward eligible. Projects a little bit better, at least for me. Denny is a tough one with the Q tag. Then you're down to Ant, Şengün, Banchero in the 9Ks. I think Şengün typically looks good. No surprises. But $9,900 Donovan Mitchell at a 7 o'clock game against the Magic feels tough. I'd say it's easier to get to Paolo Banchero. I'll feel better about getting to Evan Mobley with an MPE. And then after that, I'm realistically, I think Desmond Bane at 6,900 might be more appealing than Donovan Mitchell relative to salary, obviously. But it's really as I look at it right now, and like the DeAndre Hunter, Sam Merrill Q tags will certainly change this up a bit. That could open up some value for Cleveland and make it look a little bit more interesting. But on a 5-game slate where this is the only game that locks at 7, and then we have a pack of 3 of them at 8, there aren't many names that I would like to see in my lineup here, if available. Like Mitchell, Banchero, Mobley, Black, Bane is probably it. Like, can you get Wendell Carter Jr.? Sure. I guess you could play Dean Wade, although at 4K, like, why would you? If I'm getting something from Orlando, Cleveland, I just want it to be a star or like a star adjacent guy. Like Suggs is back. He's playing some undetermined amount of minutes, mid-20s, maybe, until he just goes out there and plays 30 and we don't see it. But that doesn't help. I mean, it helps Orlando win. It doesn't help Orlando as a DFS team. So as I see it, Mitchell, Banchero, Mobley, Bane, Black, Jared Allen, I guess. It's stars or nothing. I'm either paying up in this game or I'm not paying here at all. Unless we find out that Sam Merrill and DeAndre Hunter are both out, at which point we'll probably find a little bit more value for Cleveland. But I see this as a game you want to avoid to try to get to everything else later. Because we've got Lakers Bulls with a 237 total. Warriors Wolves is at 230. Not bad. It's tough to justify that first game. If you guys have anything you like in that first game, let me know. Or anything you want me to dig into, we could take a peek at it. Any thoughts on Mo Wagner for some value? Uninterested. Complete zero interest. Yeah, I gave Mo Wagner 14 minutes. I don't know how you do it. Yeah, the odds of Dean Wade putting up 30 fantasy points when those two guys are out, though, is like 10%. Probably less. Speaking of, I guess I should run my contenders while we're sitting here. The only team that's going to look weird is Memphis because they're on the back-to-back, so I didn't put a ton of time into Memphis. All right, so let's sneak back to that. Let's talk about this next game. Portland, Boston. So Boston, 8.5-point favorites at home, 224 total. For Portland, still missing a bunch of dudes. No Chris Murray. Dwop Reith is out. Obviously, Thibault, Scoot still out. Denny questionable. Robert Williams questionable. The Robert Williams one probably means a little bit less. The Denny one is obviously massive and makes it, kind of difficult to talk about Portland, but we can touch on what looks good, what doesn't, if he happens to be out. But we're talking about a swing of like mid-30s minutes and all of the usage and ball handling. For Boston, Josh Minott is questionable. He's been out for ages. Neemias Queta, questionable for this one. that can also create a pretty sizable chunk of value depending on how this breaks. So let's start off by looking at Portland, because I think that'll point us in a slightly better direction. Because Denny missed a couple, came back, left again early, missed their most recent game against Toronto, and now we're here once again. Assuming Denny is in, really starts to take a bite out of your the rest of this rotation for sure. You know, at some point in time, do I think they're going to bump up Drew Holiday's minutes? Maybe. Don't know when that's going to happen. Now, if Denny happens to be out, I think we start to have a conversation about Jeremy Grant, who played 26 minutes last time out with no Denny around. Caleb Love and Sidy Cissoko will continue to get additional run if Denny isn't able to make it. They don't really have any bodies after that, though. Like, the only guys that I didn't project minutes to right now are Javonte Cook and Yang Han-Sen. So if we do lose Denny or Time Lord, it's not like they're drowning in dudes to fill those spots. You know, someone like Ryan Rupert will then take a pretty sizable jump in minutes. Cissoko will go, like, if Denny's out, Sissoko's going to go from, 16 minutes to 32 probably. So paying attention to that will be interesting. Obviously, Shaden Sharp will see a bit of a rate bump if Denny is out. The trickiest part of this one to me is if Denny and Time Lord just happen to be out, I'm curious how many minutes they'll play Drew Holiday. He came back for 4 games. He sat the second half of a back-to-back. He's played 2 more. I do wonder if they're missing both of those guys in the same way that they were on the 23rd. If we see a bump in Drew Holiday's minutes to like 26 or 28. But my assumption here, if we lose Denny, is that Jeremy Grant will look better. What better is, we're about to find out, because at this moment I have no idea what Jeremy Grant's salary is. Jeremy Grant is $6K. Okay, so like, not even going to matter. We can give him minutes. We can give him those minutes right now, and he is not going to look amazing. You would need to give him a lot more than what I would expect we'd give him. This is another game that's, while it has some interesting stuff, it's not where you'd typically expect it to be. I guess my contenders are done. Who are my top 10 plays right now? Oh, obviously Rudy Gobert. Definitely expected that one. Rudy Gobert, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith, Jalen Smith, Kobe White, Naz Reid, Durant, Luka, Dean Wade, Reed Shepherd. Okay, so for some reason I gave Rudy Gobert 48 minutes. Let's go ahead and correct that down to the 31 that it's supposed to be, and then resim everything. That's what happens when you fat finger a number. That is what happens. So I guess we'll fix that in a second. The Boston one's pretty easy. We're pretty used to what Boston's going to look like. 35 minutes for Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, all here. If Keita happens to be out, and he's been getting boatloads of Q tags as of late. If he happens to be out, we're going to see some increased minutes out of Luka Garza, which will be helpful. Maybe a little Xavier Tillman. We'll probably end up getting a Garza if we lose Keita. Otherwise, this is as typical of a Boston game as we could be possibly used to. It's the same team they always are. If Minot's back, I guess like that's slightly different, but realistically doesn't matter all that much. From a value perspective in this game, though, for Portland and Boston, 5K Simons with point guard, shooting guard eligibility. Yeah, probably looks like the best thing in this game. $5,600 Caleb Love is still a pretty good point per dollar play. He will look infinitely better if Denny Avdia happens to be out. I've got the third best value play in this game as Neemias Queta. I don't think he looks all that different than like Jared Allen. So hopefully the Q tag just maybe depresses Kata's ownership a hair. If you would like to pick between Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Jaylen Brown, good luck. Here are the value metrics I have for those three guys. This is fantasy points per $1,000. Are you ready? Here we go. Derek White, 5.01. Peyton Pritchard, 4.99. For reference sake, that is 2/100ths of a point per $1,000 difference. And then we get to Jaylen Brown at 4.97. Again, 2/100ths below Peyton Pritchard. Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Jaylen Brown are all three the exact same plays today. Exact same plays. Relative to salary. Take your pick. Donovan Clingan sitting there at 6,600, looking just like Neemias Queta to a degree, looking just like Jared Allen to a degree, looking just like Wendell Carter. Center's hard. But as I see it, you're flipping coins between the big three of Boston. We're waiting out these Q tags to hopefully give us a bit of extra value. But as of right now, the answer might actually be Anthony Simons. Okay, there we go. We've fixed this now. Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith, Naz Reid, Jalen Smith, Vooch, Kobe White, Rudy Gobert, Luka, Durant, Dean Wade. That is flat. That is gross. That is what we have today. Not fun slate. All right, Lakers, Bulls. Bulls, 1.5 point dogs at home, 237 total. If you were curious why you were seeing Lakers and Bulls before, that total's helping. There's no defense to be had in this one. Still no Austin Reeves for the Lakers. Q tag Jake LaRavia, which will be very important if you want to get to more value from the Lakers. On the Bulls side, Trey Jones, doubtful. Not like he was probably going to play anyway, or at least not all that much. Otherwise, still no Zach Collins. So, let's talk about this one a little bit. Because you can see, I got 3 Bulls and Luka in my top 10. Let's talk it through. I am going to find it very, very difficult to get away from Luka Doncic today. He's got a dream matchup in Chicago. There's still no Austin Reeves. No one is projected like Luka for me. For reference sake, I have Luka right now at about 62 fantasy points. The next closest guy that I have projected in raw points is Jaylen Brown at 48. That's a 14 point, we'll call it what it is. 13.5 point fantasy gap between Luka Doncic and Jaylen Brown. Assuming we have anything resembling decent value, and based on what I saw, it seems like we do. I think it's pretty obvious that you're getting to Luka today. But there's a lot more to like in this game. I showed it in my contenders. I think $7,200 Vooch looks great. Who's going to slow him down? DeAndre Ayton? Jackson Hayes? Drew Timme? Come on. Kobe White looks more than solid at 6,700. Minutes are firm. Doesn't seem like Josh Giddey's going to be playing like 30-something, so that's better for White. Jalen Smith continues to look good, starting alongside of Vooch, 5,900, power forward center. Luka is the 4th best value. Don't sleep on LeBron. In Chicago, 8,800, power forward eligible, 5K value. I don't mind getting to Buzelis. I think DeAndre Ayton is worth rolling the dice if he's low owned. I kind of like whatever center's not getting much love out of everybody we're going to talk about, out of these real dudes. Your Jared Allens, your Wendell Carter Jr.'s, your Klingons, your Kadas, your Aitons. Like, I like the guy that's the lowest owned in that group because I don't trust them. Kevin Huerter's probably a tough sell. Giddey's probably going to get real minutes eventually. When that happens, I don't know. Could always still roll the dice on Isaac Okoro. 3,900 small forward eligible, but there's a ton to like in this game, and it could look even better if we lose Jake LaRavia, because that will improve your confidence in Rui Hachimura. It could unlock more value for Gabe Vincent, Drew Timme. That's a decent chunk of minutes that are going to LaRavia right now. A lot of people mentioning Dosunmu, don't know why. Not a guy that I would roster in any way. What am I missing? Steven, correct. Why is anybody paying attention to Dosunmu like he should matter today? He's going to play like 23 minutes, and I have to assume that he's wildly overpriced for that. I said 3 Bulls. Yeah, I read them off. It was Kobe White, Jalen Smith, and Vooch. They were on the screen. But yeah, I mean, we all know where this goes now that I'm poo-pooing Ayo Dosunmu, but I don't. Why is he anything other than just a guy? Why are we expecting him to do anything? Like, he'll be unowned. Like, if they had Q tags or something, I could see it, but you're going to need somebody to lose a decent chunk of minutes to do it. And since Giddey's been back and since Patrick Williams have been back, those minutes just aren't there. And undoubtedly, Ayo Dosunmu's price is higher from the time that Josh Giddey was out. Yeah, he will not be locking Luka down. That I can promise. If Ayo Dosunmu could lock Luka down, somebody would be trading Josh Giddey for him immediately. But he can't do that, so that's fine. No one can, if it helps. But yeah, I don't think Luka's going to give a single shit about Ayo Dosunmu. I don't know why he would. Why is Luka going to care about a 6'4" guard? He's not, is the answer. Double team him? Okay. It's hard to double Luka Doncic. It's hard to double team tall dudes that can pass. The moment you send a double at Luka, he's just going to have the ball in somebody else's hands. Now you're playing 4-on-3. Obviously, he does get doubled, but like, it's a Monday against the Bulls. Not the same thing. It's a hell of a game for DFS, though. Of the 3 we've talked about so far, Lakers Bulls is on a completely different planet than everything else. Now, this one's going to be a little bit trickier to talk about. I'm going to leave a little bit of this for later. Grizzlies Rockets. Rockets are 10.5 point favorites in Memphis, 223 total. Still no Steven Adams. Not that we're going to get him anytime soon. But Memphis is on a back-to-back, even though they're not on a back-to-back. Memphis was supposed to play Denver yesterday. And then this would have been the second half of a back-to-back. That game didn't exist. But we also don't have an injury report for them yet. So this is a team that is perpetually rotating dudes in and out with Q tags or injured dudes or whatever. So, like, I don't know. I am guessing that what I have on the screen is what's available for Memphis. I won't rotate through this. I won't double check this team until we get their first injury report. Like, when you get a game canceled the night before and then you're traveling for the second half of your back-to-back, I'm not even going to bother guessing what the hell Memphis is doing today. My assumption is that it looks like it does here. I don't know the status of Aldama. Otherwise, that could be it. And they've got so many dudes injured that, like, you never know if somebody's back today. I'm just not even going to sweat it. We could talk about this one later on either the deeper dive or live before lock. Speaking of, make a note of this right now, folks. Schedule for the rest of the day at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. You will get the NHL strategy show. The deeper dive is at 5:30 today, solo edition. 6 p.m. So I'm going to go for a half hour leading into Greg and Eric for live before lock. Because I don't think we're going to have a ton to talk about. We certainly don't need an hour's worth of this for this slate tonight. So we'll go through everything game by game for a half hour, and then we'll pass that over to Greg and Eric so that they can hit you with the real live before lock show. That's what we've got going on for the rest of today. Okay, so since we can't really do anything with the Memphis side, we could just touch on the Houston side, at least for a bit. We didn't have Tari Eason or Dorian Finney-Smith in the last Rockets game. That was the second half of a back-to-back. This game is not tied to that in any way. So I'm expecting Tari Eason and Dorian Finney-Smith to just step back into real minutes. Realistically, Tari Eason can start today. I don't know when or if they're going to go back to that anytime soon, but it can happen. And then, Reed Shepherd's minutes are going to bounce around. They seem to be just sticking Dorian Finney-Smith in the 15 to 16 range, and that kind of does it. So as we look at this game, and again, I'm only going to pay attention to Houston here. We've got a $9,200 Alperen Şengün with power forward center eligibility, looking more than solid to me. Certainly somebody that I'd be happy to hold ownership on until we get to like 755 and I could late swap. I think Durant, as he continues to play massive minutes and maintain this shooting guard small forward eligibility, that sort of flexibility is just really helpful. I don't typically get to a ton of Kevin Durant, but guard forward, tough to ignore today. Amin Thompson's been playing like 40 minutes a night lately, 8,200, point guard only. Interesting. I like all three of those guys, given their current, I got them all right around 5x values. That all looks very good to me. I find Jabari Smith to be more interesting than I probably should. He scares me at least a little bit because of Tari Eason, but his minutes have been really interesting lately. 6,100 power forward eligible. I like the point per dollar aspect of him, and I think there's some real minutes there. Cedric Howard will continue to be a thing we talk about, assuming he plays. Same for Jock Landale at 5,700. I certainly have some interest in Tari Eason, because I think there's some minutes upside that's especially if he continues to come off the bench. Reed Shepherd at 4,500, point guard, shooting guard eligible. Like, we don't have that much good value. And I think Reed Shepherd deserves it. This is a really good game. I love the Houston side. Love it across the board. What it looks like for Memphis will really dictate how this game looks, because I'd love to be able to have additional Memphis. And it seems like I should be able to get some Triple J, some Coward, some Landale. You know, you could probably make a little bit of a case for Jalen Wells. But I'd like to have a decent balance coming out of Memphis and Houston. So that gives us our 3 8 o'clock games. So Orlando, Cleveland will lock. We get about 45 minutes before we want to start late swapping for these 3 games. Realistically, I want to have as much as I can in these games so that I can swap around, move it around. If we get news, if something's happening weird in Orlando, Cleveland that helps me, I want to be able to optimize that. But then, after that 3 game set, we're not done. We have another hour and a half to chill until we get to Golden State and Minnesota. We don't get a ton of late night hammers anymore. But we do have a bit of a problem in talking about Golden State and Minnesota. And that's what's tricky about this slate. That's what's tricky about right now. Because the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves played yesterday in Minnesota. Golden State takes out the Wolves by 26. Now they play again today in Minnesota. Is anybody sitting for Golden State? I think so. I don't think we're going to see Al Horford. We know we're not going to see Jimmy Butler or Jonathan Kuminga. But is anybody else going to sit? Are they going to sit Draymond? They're probably going to sit DeAnthony Melton. I left both of those dudes in for right now because I don't have a damn clue what to do. It's at least a little interesting to me that they're in the same place for the back-to-back. Kerr said Horford and Melton are already out. All right, I'll take Melton out right now then. Like, I'm guessing we get a Q tag on Draymond. I mean, Horford is just sitting. That one doesn't stress me out. I assumed they would sit DeAnthony Melton, but that's one of those where, like, eventually you never know. But I think Draymond's potentially not playing for this one. Oh my God, they just don't have human beings. These guys are so shitty. All right, let's go with something like that. Not that it's going to change anything for right now. It's still just a wild ass guess. But the takeaway here is that we are not going to get this injury report anytime soon. We're not even going to get it at 1:30. Realistically, we might not see this till like between 3 and 4 o'clock. Because this game starts at 9:30. It doesn't appear that because no one has a Q tag. But he could. He certainly could. But it definitely doesn't appear that because no one does. And then same story for Minnesota. They are on the same back-to-back. So, like, is anybody going to sit? Maybe. If you told me Rudy Gobert or Mike Conley sat today, I could see it. But we don't know. And this is our late night hammer for right now. A game with neither team on the injury report, with both teams on a back-to-back because they played each other yesterday. And the thing here is, I think there's a lot of decent spots where you could park some ownership. I don't think that any of you need me to convince you that Anthony Edwards is interesting today. Clearly, Steph Curry, if he plays, is a guy you can get to on a 5-game slate, especially when you have a game locking an hour and a half after everything else. Clearly, you could always play someone like Julius Randle. I think there's plenty of value in Dante DiVincenzo. I certainly have no issue in getting to Rudy Gobert. And if Rudy Gobert happens to have like not the same kind of ownership as the other 10 centers around him, yes, give me 100% of him getting to 930 so I can swap around. Naz Reid looks great. Draymond looks great if he plays. I like Moses Moody if he's in. If this all breaks correctly, Trace Jackson Davis is the flat 3K today. We don't expect to see Al Horford. It's possible we don't see Draymond Green, which means we're going to pay attention to Trace Jackson Davis at the flat min 3K today. If it breaks. I think he probably plays a little bit anyway, at which point that starts to open things up. We're in a position where Quentin Post might have to play a little bit more. I love this game. And it's possible it looks way better than it does right now. If some of this news breaks, realistically, I think we want like a bunch of Q tags. The optimal scenario here is that we get as much possible I have no idea what's happenings going out throughout the rest of the day to give us something for late swap. If we can get them to deal with the Q tags sometime between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock, that is a dream scenario for us tonight. That is what we want to happen. So that's what we have today, guys. A very different slate than what we're used to, thanks to the weather. We don't typically get a lot of weather nonsense for the NBA, but it has caused us to move 2 games up to the early afternoon. Pacers and Hawks at 1:30, Sixers and Hornets at 3. Then we get to our slate, a 7, 3/8, and a 9:30. And the 9:30 that we have has absolutely zero information. None. Both teams on a back-to-back after playing each other yesterday. I would never, ever, ever bet the Sixers to win the East. Never. Never. The odds would have to be so ludicrous. Couldn't do it. All right, so I hit you guys with the schedule. We're good there. We've taken a lap through this slate. Warriors Wolves is going to be massive information, so we're going to want that certainly. But I think that's going to do it for today. Let's take a look at what we have for the rest of the week. I haven't actually thought about that. So tomorrow is a 7-gamer. Ooh, what the hell are they going to do there? 7, 7:30, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10. It's probably going to be a 6-gamer tomorrow and they drop the 10 o'clock is my guess. 9 games on Wednesday. If we're lucky, they give us everything. They probably cut it at 8:30 or 8 even. But I really, really hope they give us a full 9-game Wednesday slate. Thursday's 8 games with some choppy times in the lates. I hope they give us the 9s. And then 9 games on Friday. They definitely won't give us the 10 and the 9:30. 4 7:30s, 2 9s. We have an opportunity this week to have a lot of really awesome slates, if we're lucky. I'm not confident we're lucky, but we could get some really good, fun slates today, or this week. We shall see. 2 more weeks to go until we get to the NBA All-Star break. 2 more seconds to go before this show ends. Sign up using the link in the description. If you want to sign up at Stokastic, get in here for a month for free. You can sign up through one of our partners, either a sportsbook or a pick'em site. Follow the instructions. You won't pay us a dime. You'll get the Sims for a month. And if you want to sign up at more than one of those partners, you can get more than 1 month for free. You can stack them up, get 2, get 3, get 4. They'll be like Miami Heat titles with Wade and Bosh and LeBron James. But for now, folks, that is going to do it. Good luck, everybody. I will see you later on for the deeper dive. Keep your eyes peeled to my Twitter. When we get the injury reports for the Warriors and the Wolves, maybe I'll drop a little blurb out there for you guys. Have some fun. But anyway, that'll do it, folks. Good luck today. I'll talk to you.